So, good day, everyone, and welcome back to the part 2 of our training. Emmanuel, are you sharing a screen or is it this?
No, I'm not. Don't you have share screen capabilities?
All right, I've corrected it. Okay, so good to have everyone here. See that there are comments. Hello, Thomas. Okay, so I don't know. Can I just ask if is there anyone here who was not present when we had the first part of this training? If there is, you can either raise your virtual hand or type in yes. That means if you were not here at the last training, type in yes. If you were here, don't type anything. Okay. It looks like oh, Howard Selt. Okay. Is there anyone else who was not here? Okay. Only one person is joining us newly today, so that's great. Before I go on, I think if someone cannot hear me, they would have said, but I'm sure can everyone hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Great. If you cannot hear me clearly, just indicate. At any point during this training, if you miss anything, like I used to say, please feel free to raise your virtual hand or your real hand. Well, everyone's video is off. I put my video because I think it'd be good for you to see me, but if you think it is not good, you can tell me. Please, at any point, because I cannot see you, raise your hand, your virtual hand, or type in something into the chat to say, to call my attention so that we can address whatever concern you have. Let me try to share my screen now. This one. So, can everyone see the shared screen? Great, thank you. Zoom has updated quite a lot. Things are different. I actually cannot see the chat anymore. There you go. I found the chat. Fine. Thank you. So welcome back again. Good to see everyone again. I don't know if everyone who is here now was not, like I said, only one person joined us, so that's fine. What I'll do is I'll just quickly recap on the things we did. So the last time we looked at these topics with Musa Ali. Okay, so we went through the four items at the top. So today we're going to look at the four beneath, but I will try to recap again on the last one here. I'm trying to use my cursor as a pointer, so I hope you can see it as well. If you cannot, then I'm talking gibberish, but we'll look at community engagement models and methods. We'll just pick one of them and address them. So last time we agreed that these are some of the things you'll be able to take away from the training. Don't worry, I will share the handout from this later after this training. So you will get to have all these things with you through Emmanuel and Lamis as usual. So we have to let us look back at what we did last time and see. Please feel free to ask your questions. So we talked about community, effective communication, and the rest of them. And we try to define community as people with an identifying narrative. And also we talked about engagement as a process of talking to and involving those people. So that brings together what community engagement is. And we looked at the continuum, the tools, some of the tools that we could use, and we looked at the communication aspect as well. We also looked at models and methods, as well as looking at difference between this and the tools. Someone asked a question towards the end that day that we didn't get time to address. I will address that today. I can't remember who asked that question, but the question was essentially whether there's a difference or what is the difference between community engagement and project management. I've put together a longer version answer that spelled it out in details, which I will share with you. Those will be in a PDF document, but essentially, community engagement is really about relationship building. Project management focuses on the task. So the difference is about the focus. Community engagement tends to be participatory. Community project management almost not quite so. It's a task-based focus where a manager or somebody who is a project management who has the responsibility just follow a task and want to go from beginning to the end. Community engagement tends to be much more different and flexible in that aspect. So if you are the person who asked that question, thank you for asking it. And I hope I've answered it briefly. Happy to talk about it more later. So today, on this part two, we are going to look at mapping and connector leaders and project delivery and how we evaluate. There's something on this evaluation that I have put together, which is the indicators that we use to measure community engagement impact. So we'll look at that when we get there. And then, like I said, we'll revisit community engagement models and method and just look at one of them. You will remember that I shared about 10 on that day. Again, we'll look at just one, but you can ask questions on the others. So at this point, I'm going to ask if there is any question anybody has. You can type your question in or you can speak up. As I said, feel free at any time. Due to the fact that we tend to have network problems, I would limit the interaction, well, the idea of doing breakout rooms today, because it would have been good to have more interactive session, but we have 2 hours. And what I've found in the 2 times I've done training here is that network problem tend to delay some people. So it doesn't help us in the end because we run out of time. So in the interest of keeping to time and being able to answer your questions, we're just going to lose out that aspect of participation amongst yourself. Rather, I would encourage you to participate in the open space here. So as I said, feel free to ask questions. If we don't answer it like I did with the last question, I will put it down somewhere and address it maybe in the days I send out to you or privately through Emmanuel and Lemis. So before I go on, let me ask you here, what do you think mapping means? And I need an answer. Like I said, I want this to be interactive. Please respond. I'll pick on you. You don't want me to pick on you, so say something. Yes, anyone? The question is, what do you think mapping means? Okay, let me pick on someone then. Shall I say mapping is cartography, directional steps towards reaching a goal? Yes, I need more. I cannot say, Zoe, could you explain more about cartography? I don't know what that means. Can you speak, unmute yourself and say something? Hello? Okay. Brainstorming pathways. Okay, thank you, Zoe. A graphic of something. Process of selection assigned to individual based capabilities. Systematic way indicating the position of something with some reference. Thank you. So in community engagement, mapping is a process that we use to identify what is available, the resources we need, and the challenges that we're going to face, and how those apply to the project we are trying to do. What Zoe said is interesting because in some cases, it's good to have a visual representation of what we have or what we have identified. So that is what mapping is. It's simply what it says. Mapping is essentially trying to see what do we have here, what happens, how does it work, what can we benefit from, what can we take, how do we use this. So those sort of items comes into play. It helps you to identify what you have in place already. Mappings like social guide tools, that. Yeah, so it helps you to identify the things that would be useful in delivering your project. Remember that, when someone asks what is the difference between community engagement and project management, both of these overlap in a way. The document I'll send to you later says that um, in community engagement, you can use project management. So some community engagement can be about a specific project, but it still requires you to actively involve those who are part of the project, unlike project management, which is simply about the project. It's not about the people. So these are the two differences. But when you're doing either, you need to map out what is there for you to use, what you can do with them, how you can apply them, and where there is any gaps, what you can do to fix those. So that's what mapping does in essence. So these are some of the goals that you do mapping for. You identify gaps and needs and empower your community. You design the project, you pinpoint what the outcome could be, agree on the tools and models. So these are some of the things that mapping helps you to achieve. Okay, so that is why we do mapping in essence. Sometimes the context could differ, so not all of this might apply, but the context of what you're doing would determine what you're mapping out and what you get from doing that. It can change from one place to another. It can be something different at different times. So you just do your mapping, but doing this is like preparation. It is important that you map out what you're going to do when you make your community engagement. Can I now ask a question? I would prefer a verbal answer than just typing. Can I ask a question? On being on this in this position in this training, what sort of community engagement do you expect yourself to do in the future? Just give me an example. Tell me what you're going to do very briefly, please. I need people to answer the question. What sort of community engagement are you going to do? Is anyone there? Okay, let me pick on someone. Nadal Essa, can I ask you what sort of community engagement do you expect to do?
Different types. Hi.
Hello,
Yeah, I'm audible.
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. Either to my colleagues and to my students also, as I have
You said to your
my
colleagues
students
and
and to my students. Yes, I already have my research groups
okay, but what
I'm
sort of
leading.
engagement is that going to be? Or on what issue or what problem would you like to look at and solve?
we are planning to work on open science in different themes to raise their awareness about it and to be familiar, so they can transfer it to their colleagues and to other generations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else want me to pick on them? I need someone to raise their hand. Bakare, could you tell me what sort of...
Good day, all.
Hi, Clara. Yeah, go
The
for it.
type of community engagement I'm looking at has to do also with open science.
Okay.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I said the type of community engagement I'm looking at, it has to do with open science, and it's about creating awareness, about open science. And after I must have made enough awareness, then we may now have to start making presentations on open science, because the people I'm targeting are colleagues, people that are into research, lecturers and people into research generally, about promotion of open science generally.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bakare, I asked you, could you tell me what sort of community engagement you think you will do in the future? Okay, Bakare is not responding. Dr. Howard, I'm picking on you. Yes, go for it. I just said your name.
Thank you so much. I didn't know you picked me.
Well, there you go.
Hello, can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you.
Though I'm a pathologist, so I'm into disease investigations. One of the objectives or things in which I look forward is to utilize open science for the advancement of research base in my own aspect. So in the nearest future, I'll be looking at helping those within my field to utilize the open science, the platforms, because most tools that are being found, some of my colleagues don't actually know them. Some do know, but the usage becomes the problem aspect on how to utilize it. So that's the area I'm looking at also. So the usage on open science in my own field.
Okay, thank you. So the three of you have said similar things about open science. That's your focus, and it's about increasing awareness, and that's the other thing. So in community engagement that you have to do, there are two ways, like the question we addressed earlier. The question is, would you do it as a project management or would you do it as a community engagement? From what you've said, it seems you would like to do it as a project management, but you went as a community engagement, but you didn't quite address that point. So you have to know that when you do community engagement, you need to involve. Remember, as I said last time at our training, there's a difference between include and involve. So you need to involve those who you want to target. And this is where mapping comes in. Yes, Hafsat?
Hello.
Hi.
I didn't know that I touched my hand. Yeah,
Oh, well.
but yeah, okay, no problem. One key area that I will want to engage my community, and my community is the university, is about preprints. I would like to engage this community to showcase the benefits and importance of preprints in increasing the visibility of our researchers so that they could utilize it, and to increase their visibility and also to help improve the utilization of the researches that they have done for the benefit of all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that's some slightly different answer now about preprints. Yes. Nidal, I hope I'm saying your name right. If not, forgive
Yes.
me.
Yeah, it is that. Actually, I want to ask that whatever is the type of community engagement that we will use it, we will notice. Yeah.
Repeat that again, please.
Okay. Regardless the type of community engagement tools that we will use it to involve our target. It will not be based on project management, that we have to know the problem and how to select the appropriate target group, or it will be based just on our objectives generally. I am just confusing between them.
Okay, that's fine. So as I said a few minutes ago, within community engagement, you can also have project management. The key difference between project management and community engagement is that project management is simply about the project. It's just focused on tasks, right? You're trying to achieve something. There's timelines. You're just guiding, ticking up boxes, saying this and that, and that's what it is. Community engagement is you're doing a project but with other people involved. Can you mute your mic, please? Yeah, thank you. So you're doing a project but with other people keenly involved in it. So you're listening to what they have to say. And that means that with community engagement, there's a bit of adaptation that happens as you go along. So you try to make sure that you're addressing the needs of the people. Remember, with project management, you can predict what you want to do, the outcome that you want to achieve. That is fine. And going from point A to point B is straightforward. You just keep going. It doesn't really matter what changes, unless it's a very, very difficult issue. But generally, you just move on. In community engagement, you are constantly listening and adapting what you do towards achieving that outcome that you set out. So that in community engagement, you can use project management, but project management is difficult to use community engagement within it. That's the answer to that. Yes, Musa?
Thank you. Maybe let me share my experience. I don't know whether it is community engagement or project management. And after I've joined this training, and I was really in open science, what I did was I established a Telegram group in my community, our Katawasa University, which is located in Ethiopia. This Telegram group is a journal club which promote open science. What I did was I just share information which are related with open science. And those in community members, there are around 53 members. And they comment on those things, and so they can share ideas, whether it's positive or negative. And later on, what I did was I talked to some colleagues and faculty members, and I get positive and negative feedback. Most of the time, they used to learn about open science, and they develop a positive attitude to open science. And later on, we moved to just know about what do they have, what do they say about open science in general in our university community. Maybe I don't know whether this one is community engagement or project management. In every activity, they react and they have their say, and I will explain if they have questions. And together we plan also different.
Okay, it sounds like community engagement because you're receiving feedback at the same time, you're sharing stuff, you're asking them to tell you what they think. Did I understand you very well? That's what you said?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Yeah. So in community engagement, you involve those who are part of the project you're doing. You bring them along, and it runs parallel. You still can make certain decisions, but you constantly listen to them and accept that things can change. And if they want something differently, or if they bring other ideas on board, you can take that ideas on board. You support them to deliver something that they want to achieve by themselves. So that is what community engagement is in a nutshell. There is an involvement, and in community engagement, we'll call people stakeholders, which means that they have a stake in what you're doing or what is going on, right? In project management, you don't use the word stakeholders because they don't really have much stake. They don't really contribute. They can maybe provide funding or ideas, but it's not really idea that you must take. You have to keep to the task. And this is why with that project management, you tend to have a guideline, a chart. You have your milestones to take off, and you take them off, and it doesn't really matter much what happens. So project management can be used to build a product. You're building the product because you've decided to build a product. If the people you're talking to doesn't agree to it, you can find other people and then carry on, because you just want someone who needs it because you have met the provisions to build that particular thing. You can also use community engagement to build a product, but that means you are constantly iterating it and making sure that it fits what the target audience wants. Bakari.
Oh, thank you, Godwyn. Sorry about the first call. It found me. I was trying to get coffee from the other office. I was using a wireless earbud. I can hear, but I can't actually unmute myself and talk. Yes, I want to join the colleagues and talk about community engagement, especially how I plan to have it in my my workplace here, that is Medical Research Council, the Gambia. Yes, so for me, just like Godwyn said, we also have a group of actors or stakeholders that are relevant when it comes to open science, open research regime that I would like to establish in the unit here. So I come from the library and archives department, and then we have data management. They normally collect and manage the data, and then later on submit it to archives. Then we also have the project managers. The project managers are the ones who manage the grant or the finance of the project throughout the project lifecycle. Then we have data science team that are also responsible for analytics and whatnot when the project is get elapsed. We have research governance and ethics committee that also makes sure that the research is compliant when it comes to use of human subject and so on and so forth. We have scientific coordinating committee, and then we have the actual researchers. They are the principal investigators, the students, and so on and so forth. So I have this plan in mind that these are going to be part of the stakeholders that I'm going to engage right at the start of discussing open science to see how best we're going to navigate into this and do it effectively. Because the whole essence is to hear from their own end how they're going to contribute to open science and how it's going to affect them. So this is going to help us to build a sort of a communique amongst ourselves and know each stakeholder what is your expectation and how you're going to be affected and what role can you play in the success of open science regime in the unit here. Thank you.
Thank you. So what you've outlined there is answer the question to the next slide I was going to go. So, but the question is, what are things you need to map? We've talked about these are the goals of mapping. And if I go back to the previous slide, we said you map resources and challenges and assets. Now you've told us about all these communities. So these are some of the things you map first. But I'm going to ask on other people, just give me one thing. You can use the chat now to tell me.
Yeah, for example, I think is we need to basically get the funding. And normally the project management will have to assist us with that.
Oh, no, stop there, Bakari. It's fine. Stop there for now. So the question is, what are things you need to map? You've answered one of the questions. You've answered one of the things you need to map is audience. I want other people to tell me in the chat, what are just one thing will be fine. What other things do you think you need to map? Type it into the chat. What other things do you think you need to map to start your project? Before I go to the next slide, you have 90 seconds to do that. Yes, time. I want you to break down these resources. What resources are we talking of? perceptions. Everyone should type in one thing they need to map. Let's do a crowdsourcing. Type in one thing you think we need to map. And if you want to type two, that's fine, but type in one. Training materials and skills, yes. We don't really need to map perceptions. But that is there's a nuance to that. Humans, yeah, community members, yes. Needs and challenges, yes. Venue, yes. That's good. Yes, social network. Okay, great. So these are some of the things you need to map. Time frame. So you're mapping things like venue. Someone said that's geography. What tools will work best for you? The people who are going to be involved, connector leaders, we'll talk about this later. Audience, the people you want to engage. Starting with audience, with what Bakary has shared with us, he's done the mapping, but that is not the whole of the mapping you need to do. That is the first level of mapping that he's done by identifying who are the people I want to work with. But actually beyond that, when you get all those people together, the best thing will be to say, talk to all of them and say, what do we have here? So your plan is to do something about open science. You start talking to all of this audience, you bring them together and you say, what do we have here? What else do we need? How much open science do we do? How much do we not do? Do we do any at all? Do we not do it at all? Do we even understand it? Where should we start looking at? What are the open science? Someone else mentioned, I think it was Howard mentioned platforms. Are there platforms that we already use which are open science in nature or not? Yeah, language and teaching methods. Yeah, those are very important. So you talk to people about all of this. So you work out what are the assets that are in existence. That will help you to know what do you need to work for. And this is why I asked Bakary to stop, because at this point, you can then determine whether you need how much funding you need or not funding at all, or at what stage you need funding. This is why I asked you to stop, because by doing this review, assessment of what is on the ground, you can help you determine that, okay, we need additional how much dollars or not, or we need more or less. But someone said time, and time is very important in things you plan, you map, and also the way you're going to implement these things are part of it, and how you measure them. So they are all of the things you map at the very beginning. So let's talk about connector leaders as part of this discussion. This is a very key component in community engagement. They are people who play a very important role. And thank you for the list you gave us earlier, Bakary. There are all these departments, all this group of people, but you need people who actually understand and know them, are part of those critical communities, because you cannot do it all by yourself. And this is why we call it community engagement. You're engaging the community, but you need to create a sort of hub and links that will help people to easily come together. So you need people who can play those roles. The connector leaders are simply individuals who you think can bring something and help the communities to participate in what you're doing. They are always people that are very passionate. They know how to build bridges. They know how to empower others. It's not about them. They focus on the need of the community or the need of what you want to do. You know, like all of you have recounted about open science. They have to be people who believe in what you think you're about to do. So that is another step up to helping others key into it and connect into it. They act as a hub or point of contact. So these are what connector leaders can be. Because again, we're talking of community engagement. It's a matter of principle, which is why it is not project management. It is a thing that says it's not just one person, it's a community. So you get people on board. Sometimes there are not a lot of people. It can be another person. It can be two other people. It can be just, any number of people. But you have to get people who buy into the dream, into the vision that you have, and be able to help and work towards it. So that's what connector leaders do. So the attributes you need in a connector leader is, they have strong networks. So for the departments you've recounted for us here, you can say in that department, who is the person that everyone looks up to? Who is the person that has the knowledge and has the support of others? There must be that one person who, if you go to that department to say, oh, I needed us to do this, and they will say, oh, yeah, go to Godwyns. He's the guy you can talk to. Oh, go to Clara. She's the person to talk to. You find out that they are someone that everyone tends to refer to for some reason or the other. And when you meet them or when you're working with them, you see that they are passionate. They really want this to kick off. They have ideas. They say, let's do it this way, or let's not do this. Or they say, actually, that's not what the community needs. When I was talking to them, they prefer us to talk about preprints more. Someone talked about preprints, or they say, oh, when I'm talking to them, I think they want to understand where they can post their preprints. So they help you to sort of zero the idea slowly into what the community needs, so that you are being able to service those without wasting a lot of time. So these are some of the attributes you need from them. They guide the community members to services and information. They are problem solvers. They like to include other people. So it's not just about them, and they are trusted and influential. Now, don't think of the influence as being so much power. It's just that they are people who are trusted and they know how to bring people together. They are selfless and they are very good representatives. So to identify your connector leaders, these are some of the key things you need to look at. They are passionate, they bring people together, they facilitate towards the goal that you have set. They collaborate across diverse groups. They have good communication skills. They are community members often mention them. Now, they must maybe not have all of this. So don't be taken to thinking, oh, they have to tick all these boxes. You just need to see what is important to you. People have different skills and it's fluid. For example, good communication skill, I say here, it is not about being able to give a speech. Sometimes communication is not just words. It's also how people relate to others. Sometimes communication is more about what was not said than what was said. So bear that in mind. There are some community members which we call community leaders. Sometimes they're just quiet and listen to everybody. Because they listen to everybody, they come to a conclusion. They say, well, this is the problem, this is the problem. How about we do this? Now, they are not the people that say the most, but they come forward and provide a way to navigate difficult situations. So when you're looking at people who should help you or who should be part of your community and help push the goal, remember, it's not about how good they look, but their passion is important. They have to believe in what, I think if you ask me, what are the key things they need to have passion for what you're about to embark on, the journey you're about to embark on, and they need to be selfless. It's not about them, it's about what collectively we need. So these are the two key things. And being able to communicate or being able to encourage others to do stuff comes a lot with selflessness. If people think that someone is selfless, they are more likely to walk along with them because they know that they are not really doing this just to fill up their own CV. They care more about other people. Does anyone have a question about these things? Okay, no questions. That's good. So let's talk about project delivery. Yes, Aman?
Yeah, thank you so much. So in academia, in terms of just for open science, so to make, usually resources and also usually, in terms of also communication skill, passionate and the like, usually leaders in higher leaders and also programmers and policy makers, and also just to resign and advocate and to allocate resource and the like. Usually that just mean that we are trying to locate or identify as a connector, programmer and policy maker at national level or regional level, or just engaging just for example in academia, a certain director or director of the school or the dean or something like that. Do you comment on that, or just only researcher without any position, maybe the faculty member or something like that would be a connector if he has also another social network, and also if he lead also a film scientific consultancy or engaging in the community mobilization and something like that.
Okay, so I bring back this this slide to remind you what I said earlier is that I talked about the second point are trusted. The person is trusted and influential, and I did make a comment about the influence. The thing with a community, in a community engagement, now we are talking about community engagement here on a standard level. It would differ slightly as you go into your various context, the contextual need that you have, the differences that your communities have. It would differ slightly, but on a standard level, the community, the connector leaders, in some cases, like I used the word, people also call them community leaders. These people don't have to, it's not reliant on their position. Let's take your environments as academics, as you are all here. It's not really about whether they are head of department or vice chancellor or whatever that, title they have to be. No, it's not reliant on that. I mean, those people can also be connector leaders. They're reliant on people who really, one, shares that vision that you have and can put their time into it. And as I said, are selfless about it. It can be the most junior person in your department. Now, what makes community leaders stand out is that most times people are drawn to them not because of their position. People naturally get drawn to them because they see them as someone who gets things done, who puts themselves forward to organize and help everybody realize whatever goal that has been set. So it doesn't quite require that all those positions you mentioned. Those positions can also be useful in certain things, but you have to make your own judgment. What I'm trying to say and what community leaders or connector leaders has to be are people with a passion, because sometimes you appoint people or you pick people or you involve people because they have this position and they end up just being there just because of the position. But one, they might not even have time to do it. Two, they might not even be talking to everyone or listening because of their position. People might not approach them. So you want someone who is approachable, who people has naturally been drawn to go and talk to. Sometimes in an ordinary community, there's that one person that everyone has a problem, they go to them and tell them. Why? Because they know that if they tell them about this issue, nobody else will hear it. They know how to maintain confidentiality. They know how to help them solve a problem without making it a news. And sometimes that person they go to is not the wealthiest, it's not the most, physically influential. So you have to think of it from a practical perspective and say, who among all my communities or the different parts of it, who is that key person who, if I go to them, they can ginger up the rest of the group to do something. They can just say, hey guys, we need to do this. What do you think? They can reach out. they can speak to different, I talked about diversity. They can speak to different groups or different individuals without trying, somewhere here it says, I should have put numbers on this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Passionate about inclusion. They don't see limitations on people. They respect everyone. They think, oh, you bring something useful. You bring something useful. I know how to put them together. So this is how you have to think about it rather than influential in the sense of position or title, because that doesn't cut it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you so much.
Thank you. So that's what you need to look out for in your connector leaders. It's not a task that you must focus on. You literally pick them. You literally pick them by simply knowing that they are there, and that you've been working with them and you can sense what they can do, or you know them all along. So but don't pick them because they are your friends. I must make that clear. Don't pick them because they are your friends. Just pick them simply because of the qualities that we've discussed here. So I'll go forward. So these are some of the things that, say that you need to do when you're identifying them. So project delivery. Now we're using the word project, and you would think, oh, but we said project management. Well, as I said earlier, the things you do within community engagement would also become some projects. So you need to think about them in that form, that you have some form of targeting to do. So it takes different forms in different community engagement, but it's about the style and approach that you're looking at. The way you deliver your community engagement will depend just on some of these issues. What are the needs you have? What are the resources? Remember when we talked about mapping, what are the resources that you have identified? Those available resources, which include people, time, fund, other services that are available, where you can, other platforms that you can utilize or not utilize, the passion that is within, inside your community, what the target audience is and what they are looking for. As Bakari shared with us, there's all of this target that audience that you've identified. Also the partnerships that you could have. If you're dealing with an issue, let's say community engagement is very common in healthcare and public health. If you're dealing with an issue in health, you can be saying, okay, we're dealing with mental health, but what are the other partnerships for those who will be beneficiaries in your community? Things like where can they access other services? If they are dealing with mental health, what if they need help applying for a job? Who can do that? If we cannot do it because we are dealing with mental health, is there another organization who are very compassionate and who know how to apply for jobs or help people build a CV? Those are partnerships. So you don't have to do everything by yourself. Sometimes you might be able to do it because you have the skills. But when you did your mapping, you realize I'm dealing with mental health and people within, some will need a job. Is there anyone here who has a skill in helping people build a CV or helping people do mock interviews or helping people decide what career they want to go back into? These are some of the things you find out in the mapping. If you did the mapping and you don't have that, you'll be looking at, are there organizations that we can partner with who can do that? So we can send this, those who are part of our community, when they need this, you go here. This is also about when we talk about community connector leaders being able to share services and informations and let others know where to find something. Oh, Clara, how is that happening? Why do we have a whiteboard open? So guys, you can see the red mark on the screen. Don't draw anything. It's called whiteboard.
I think somebody is trying to type.
Yes, type it in the chat. So the whiteboard is on. Emmanuel, if you're there, can you check how to, let me see, breakout rooms. Okay. Here's the whiteboard, annotate. Anyway, so these are some of the things you need to think about in your project delivery. there are other styles that you can use. But I'm going to ask you again some participation. Can you tell me some of the styles you can use in your project delivery? These are very common, you realize, but tell me some of the things you think can help with project delivery, how you can deliver your projects. If you haven't said anything, I'll pick on you to tell me something. Yes, anyone there? Yes, Aman?
I think, let me speak.
Yeah.
Yes, Aman?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, if I just have a kind of resource based on the resource I have, and considering also the community's needs, I can deliver, we can deliver the project, especially focusing on the open science project, because to deliver the major issue is more of the resource and also their need. We need to make it, satisfy our community's need. Then to discharge that, we need to have also a kind of resource in terms of time resource, financial and other technical resource, including even our passionate and the like, based on our target group. We need to consider like that. If we have no also resource, we may create a kind of collaboration and partnership um, with other stakeholder, and globally and also locally. We can generate resources by networking and partnership. Collaboration maybe also helpful. Otherwise, it's the main thing is more of their need and the resource thing. Yeah, we can bring that using different tools or approach. Using partnership, collaboration is part of pooling resources, and also other technical and other especially technical expertise as well.
Thank you
so much.
Howard?
Okay, since one of the issues in my own side is about being familiar with so many tools using open repository, I will take, for example, GitHub. I know some of my community members, we are finding it difficult on how to be able to copy, how to fork files from GitHub. I think to tackle that aspect, we'll go through the steps on how to be able to fork files from GitHub, on how individuals can share files within.
Howard, you've muted yourself, so we cannot hear you anymore. Hello?
Okay, you didn't get what I said?
We had part of it. You said you were thinking of how to manage Hub and get things from GitHub, and then you muted yourself.
Oh, okay. No, I was saying we are going to go through the step on how to share files within the platform on GitHub, since it will be one of the tools we are going to be using for in our community.
Okay, great. So yes, so that's how the delivery system style that you choose would be dependent on what tools you have and what needs you have and all of that, and the partnerships. So for example, you've Howard just shared about their hope to get involved with copying things from GitHub. Now, some of the things that in the mapping you did, so back to talking about mapping, you would have mapped out, do we have the skills to do that? Is there anyone among us who know how to do that? If not, where can we find someone who knows how to do it? Can we invite them to be part of our group or not? There are so many considerations you do in mapping. You're trying to determine what is there and, if possible, how to get something on board. So, but where you cannot, remember the thing about mapping is about things you have control of, things you already have within amongst you, but you can also map out partnerships, as I put there. So you're determining if that helps you to say, if we don't have this, this is where we could easily go and talk to them about getting it. So for the thing that Howard has just explained, this is key, because if you don't have that expertise, partnership will be important for you. And this is why you need to map partnership at the time you're inventing or starting your project. Let me remind you, I think if I can go back to, let me see if I can go back to this and show you, 48 now, common tools. I wanted to show you, remind you about the continuum. Remember that the thing with, the issue with community engagement is that it doesn't really follow a rigid pattern. And it should, most of the time, it doesn't have an end. You get to what you consider an end, you recycle again, and you can enter it at any point. So remember that it's a continuum. It means that it just keeps going on and on. Of course, at some point, you can wrap up your program if you want, or you can move on. But sustainability is a big part of community engagement. So even if you are the founder in your university, you move on, you should work on it in a way that if you move on, and this is where community leaders or connector leaders become important. If you were to move on, let's say you get a job or pursue another field and you move to another university, another country, somewhere else, others who were part of your community, this is the key, community will be able to carry on doing what you guys are doing. So that is a very important aspect of it. So some of the very uncommon styles, I put these uncommon styles because sometimes people don't consider them, but it is simply things that you can use to deliver your community engagement. So there is storytelling. I love storytelling, but it's not easy to carve it out. It's simply usually using the stories that are within a community based on what you're looking at. Open science, for example, you can tell a story about open science, but that story has to be pulled from different members or needs that are in your community to create a story. In some instances, people can say storyboard. So you have a storyboard which flows and says, this is how this issue, the problem goes. This is how we're going to solve it. This is the assets we have. So you can use storytelling to sometimes elaborate and deliver a project. And it helps you to know at which point are we changing our things, the things that we have there. Community-based participatory research, that is one of the things, you as academics might consider. It is mostly to do with key research, but it's a situation where the research is actually the people that are part of the community are also part of the responders to the research. Now, you have to manage how you avoid bias in that, but if you choose to do that, it's something you have to look into seriously. Then you have co-creating, that's designing together, and the conferences and workshops and others. So these are some of the places that you can use to deliver your project. But I would like you now to tell me, what are the others you can use in your project delivery? What are other tools you can use? We talked about this last week, so most of you should remember it. Question, can we passionately engage community when we are facing resources lacking? Because it's one great problem we can face in some universities in Africa. At that moment, what would be the way to overcome the problem? So this is a question from Joseph, who said, can we passionately engage community when we are lacking resources? Okay, so Joseph, will come to you. I want you to type into the chat other tools you can use for your delivery of community engagement. I want each person to type one thing, and then we'll go to Joseph's question. Social networks. Journals, yes. Clara, you should type in the chat board. I need more tools, please. Collaboration, yes. So we're talking of project delivery here. Videos, yes. Okay, so let me just give you a reminder. These are some of the tools we talked about. So you can use some of these things to do delivery of your project. Now, you will probably start asking yourself, why are some things under project delivery, but they are also on the tools? And the thing with community engagement is that it's just so connected. And then that makes me to remind you of this. We talked about this. So you see this thing is called the community engagement continuum. There is no entry point and there is no exit point. You can enter at any point, you can exit at any point, but you can also go from here to there. You can go from method to working together. You can go from working together to communication. You can go from communication back to method, back to planning, back to inclusion. So the continuum in a community engagement, and this is why it is different from project management. Project management is more linear. Community engagement is very involving. So you're looking at all of these things and changing and adapting and trying to address something, but it all leads you to the impact you want to make. Does that make sense? So the issue of project delivery that we were just on now and asking, what tools do you need to do project delivery? These are some of the tools, and you've mentioned them, social media surveys. So that's the tools. I said that I'm sharing the uncommon ones because people never really talked about them all the time, but these are some of the very most common ones. You know, someone said workshop, video collaboration, journals, newsletters, conferences, street stalls. Okay, Manuel, thank you. Thank you. I hope when it goes off, this Zoom will carry on, but that's fine. So these are some of the tools that we can use. Before we talked about the uncommon ones, which is these ones. So they are very uncommon because sometimes people don't realize that they are either doing it or they are not doing it. Co-creating is very, very important in community engagement. Otherwise, it becomes project management. It is essential. I think Bakari just mentioned it earlier and told us about how they have been identifying he's been identifying different departments and teams that can come together. And then someone else said something about establishing, Musa said about establishing a Telegram group and now asking them to contribute by feedback. So co-creating is you gather people together and you create together. Every voice matters in that instance. So this next slide is components and stages that we have in community engagement to find the indicators. I have put it on the project delivery, but sometimes and most of the times it comes under evaluation. They are one and the same, but these are some things, the key aspects of your community engagement. Now you look at it, you say, this is the input process. Sometimes you find it called activities, but they are one and the same. The resources we talked about, time, cost, skills, and other things. The people needed, how much in funds. So those are the input. Input is the things you need to use to ginger up and start making your community engagement happen. For you all here, oh, sorry, before I forget Joseph's questions, for you all here, some of the key things will be time. That will probably be the most important thing, because you are all in academia, and there's a lot of demand and pressure on you to do this and do that. So time will probably be critical to all of you. Now, back to Joseph's question, which links into input funds. Last week, in part one, I did say that sometimes within community engagement at a very low level, money or funds are not the key things. That is number one. Resources can depend on what you're talking of. So it can go from, let's not talk about time now, but it can go to simple things as ordinary machines that you need to get something working. So I think Howard talked to us just a few minutes ago about GitHub. So those sort of things. If you lack resources, this is where your mapping becomes important. And you think, okay, this is what we have, this is what we don't have. You identify the gaps, and that is where mapping is important. Yes, Joseph?
Thank you. Hello.
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, thank you. So I know that resource is not important to engage a community, but sometimes we decide to engage community or to make an event, but we don't have a venue hall, for example.
You don't have what?
Where we can take the event or to talk to community or to begin our meeting for engagement.
Yeah.
That is very important. It is not about money, but it is a material which can prevent us to go on the event.
Okay, so in those situations, you know, when you do your mapping and you identify this to be a problem, we'll have to step back and say, who is part of your community? Where are you? Okay. Let me ask you personally, Joseph, are you in a university environment?
Exactly. I mean, that's the reason why I asked the question.
Okay, so let me address your specific question about venue. You're in a university environment. Universities has lots of spaces, right?
Surely. Yes.
Yeah. So the question is, how do you get someone to give you one of those spaces? Remember, we talk about mapping. Mapping is identifying things that you need, things that are there, things that you can use. And although mapping focuses on things you have, it also helps you to identify things you don't have. So if you think venue is what you need, but you don't have it, at that mapping, you're also thinking, who are the right partners? Who are the people we can talk to? Partners, when you map, it's not really people that are part of your group. As I explained before, it's other people that can provide something that you need. So if you're in a university environment, universities have classes. They are not all in use at the same time. So it takes you saying, okay, amongst us now, who is the right person who can talk to Professor so and so, who is not part of our community, but that is his, remit. He's in charge of that place. Can we talk to him and use the hall for 1 hour or 2 hours? When is it free? When is it not free? So that shouldn't really be a big problem when it comes to venues. And if you're part of a university, if you're not part of a university, I start thinking, okay, I will tell you something that we've done in other places where I am involved that has no institution involved. Sometimes we have meetings in someone's house, in someone's corridor, in someone's office, right? So you have to sort of see what you have and how you can make use of them to benefit you.
You know that we must take in account a sort of commodity for a meeting. For example, go to take an institutional meeting at one's house. It's not good. I think.
Oh, no, it's not good. But remember, the community engagement, the core thing about community engagement is that it is about relationship building. Yeah. And the thing that makes community engagement, this is a field I've worked in for over 15 years now. One reason I love it for is that it's a situation where people want to contribute something. People are happy to do something, and that's why they're involved in it. Not everyone, but majority of people. They want to solve a problem. And when you want to solve a problem, you start with what you have. So you have to think, what do I need? Or who can I talk to? And it's not easy. It's not all the time you get what you want. I started an organization in 2009 for a campaign. We couldn't put up an event because we couldn't afford somewhere to hold the event. But it took a while because one of our partner organizations, we continue to engage with them, build their, but what it took them is to begin to trust us, to know that we're not just some bunch of crazy kids. I was younger then, who just want to mess about. As they see what we can do, be in a meeting with us, see us at other events, we present. You run on the back of other people's events to show what you do, to talk about what you do. We built trust, and they said, well, you can have in fact, those days we used to have meetings in a cafe, which is not conducive, right? They gave us their space, but the only day they can give us that space is a Sunday. So we have to talk among ourselves and come to an agreement that actually could give it to us, Saturday night or Sunday, during the day on Sunday. We accepted to use it on Sunday. So we had our community meetings only on Sundays. So that may be inconvenient, but it helped us to build towards what we wanted. And down the line, we didn't use their place for an event, but associating with them added to the reputation we are building, that we were able to hold an event in a local library. So you have to build step by step. So you have to be pragmatic, which is why mapping, everyone here, remember, mapping is important. Mapping also tells you who you need to befriend or who you need to work with, who you need to target. It's all about building up the reputation, showing that what you're doing is important. Now, you are all in academia. There's open science is the core thing everyone is talking about here. In this day and age, venue is not always a big issue, but it can be in some environment where data is not common. But it also means that your community are a geographical one, right? It's within your university. You can think about, can you hold the meeting under a tree? Is it convenient? If it's not, can one of you hold it in their office? You can keep going and thinking, where can it be held? And I agree with you about someone's home, but it depends on what you're doing. If you're running an event that is a campaign about, for example, housing in an area, you can perfectly hold a meeting in someone's house. But if you're running a professional event like open science, you can also hold it, but that would be a long stretch. So you can think, who is here? What office space do they have? What time do they have? When is it free? There's a lot of questions to tick off and get what you want.
Okay. So it is easy to engage each participant to bring what he has as material resources to achieve the engagement.
Yes. So it's about
such as money, any material. So we must try to tell our colleagues to bring what, when we lack of some material, we can ask them to bring what they have.
You have to be careful that you're not putting demands on people. Okay. I don't know if everyone is understanding this. You have to be careful that you're not putting demands on people. You have to map what you have first, right? When you map it, I think we talked about mapping. Let me see, things to map. Yeah, so we talked about these things. You have to map these things, but if I go back to this one, so these are some of the things, the goals, the reason you're mapping. Look at the first one. It says you have to find, it helps you to identify where you have gaps and needs. So for you, as you just explained, your gaps and need is a venue. So you identify that and you have to find how to work on it. Okay, Dr. Oluwole. Hello, Oluwole, you raised your hand. Hi.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay. So in a nutshell, sir, mapping is about identifying what you have to achieve your result, as against using, achieving results with the limited things you have. I don't know if I'm making sense. I have 1, 2, 3. It can only achieve this for me, then I stay with it. Or I want 4, 5, 6, and I'll look for what will achieve it for me.
So both are correct, okay? Both, okay. I like your definition. Both are correct. So we are back to mapping. Mapping is, we are all here. How many of us? About 20 of us, okay? Let's say we want to form a community engagement to do community engagement. That's what we're doing now, okay?
Okay.
So what we do is, what do we have here? What do we have here? We have a Zoom account. We're using it now, so we count that as we have it. We have a slide, right? We have that. We have what else? We have people. 20 of us are here. Now, 20 of us, this is where you start making a difference. So who is what, right? We want to do a community engagement on open science to a lot of universities. Now, when we look at the list, who is here? We have about, let's say, 10 universities represented here. So we have those things. So we can start saying, okay, it's about open science. We want to reach out to those who don't know how to do open science. This is what we have so far. Okay, we have a Zoom account. We have all these people in these universities. We have a slide. Let's start. Okay, that's your 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Yes.
But as we do that, we realize, what do we not have? When we look at the 10 universities here, we realize that all of them are, let's say, in North Africa. Okay. So there's no university here in West Africa. What do we do then? So that's a need. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
We put it to the side, because what mapping helps you do is identify what you don't have. Okay. Then we look at, say, all of these people here, what are their roles in their various universities? Are they admin? Are they lecturers? Do they have access to students? Do they have access to staff? Do they have access to both, or do they not? What do they do? You look at all of that. Let's say when we look at that, all of you here are just admin staff. You don't have access to students, just for the want of creating a situation. So, someone said earlier, we want to involve our colleagues. So all of your colleagues you can involve, but you don't have access to students. So we put that to the side. Access to students is something we don't have, right? It's on this side. We can then say, we can start open science by just talking to our colleagues, calling them together and say, do you know you can do that? And leave the students alone. Or we can say, actually, a grassroots thing, we want to get more students involved. So how do we get students involved? That's a need. So if you look at what I've just narrated, you can either carry on doing your open science because you're doing open science awareness. You can achieve that by doing it among your colleagues. Or you can say the need is students, but we don't have access to students. Then you look for how do we reach students. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you, sir.
So that's the 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6. You have 1, 2, 3, then you have 4, 5, 6. Then mapping helps you identify what you don't have and decide how you go around about it. It's back to the same discussion I was having with them.
Okay.
Joseph.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I will move on to where we were, which is project delivery. So we're talking about this. So these are the indicators you use. That is when you've already, you're doing your stuff, you can determine at the beginning. So these are we've talked about input quite a lot, things you need and things you don't have. The process you're going to use, we've already talked about them as well. So these are the workshops, the newsletters, the meetings. Those are the style you're going to use. Somebody earlier, Musa, mentioned using Telegram. So that's the process they're using. You talk about the output. Now, output is quite interesting because sometimes people confuse output with outcome, but they are different. So the outputs are just simply when you do your inputs and process or activities, you can say, Joseph can now, sorry, not Joseph, Musa can say, the output is we have a Telegram group that has how many people on it, and we have been posting one article per week. So their output is one article per week with the feedback involved, right? So that is where the output comes in. But you go to outcome, you're looking at the results of that output. If you're posting that one article per week, are people engaging? If people are engaging, what are they getting from it? Does that make sense? Someone say yes or give me a thumbs up.
Yes.
Okay. So the outcome is simply as it says, Musa is doing this activity now. What is the outcome? People are receiving articles, one article per week. They are engaging with it and they are making a feedback. So the outcome is that some of the people that are part of that group are beginning to receive that support. So as I said there, it's linked to your goal. The goal is to increase awareness, and this is how many people are now receiving support or training to improve something. So these people are now beginning to engage in some articles about open science. They are learning something new. So that's the outcome. But beyond that, a much longer term outcome is what we call impact. Impact is the most important thing in community engagement or social engagement. It's really about the change that are happening. The problem with impact is that it's not tangible, right? I think most of you here are researchers. You know that an impact is most likely qualitative. You know, when you say we are doing open science and down the line in a long-term case, 5 years, your university are now doing open science. Can you really take the credit that it is about this project? You may be able to, but when it's drilled down into, it might not be the same. It might not be all 100% down to what you've done, but you've contributed to it. So the impact that you're changing how people are doing stuff in the long term. 5 years down the line, they are all posting preprint. You can take the credit for doing that, but you have to also make room and accept that they've not all come on that journey at the same time, which is why impact is qualitative in essence, because not everyone is doing preprint yet, not everyone is posting it yet, not everyone is accepting it for tenure track and all of that. So there's a lot. You know, how do you measure the impact it has on people? So these are the 5 indicators we use within community engagement or social interactions, as you might call it, to measure what is going on and how it's having a result to what you find you want it to do. Does anyone have a question about this? Okay, so I've put in some further reading when I send it to you that you'll be able to look at and see what this does, which will be useful. Yes, Aman?
Yeah, thank you so much for your useful presentation. Yeah, actually, in terms of impact, might be, you know, sometimes we may have immediate impact, especially for you know, intervention, especially public health intervention for our community. We have also immediate and long-term impact, of course. So for open science, for example, it might be, you know, can we measure using quantitatively? I mean, using, you know, the number of you know, research article might be, you know, for example, available through open access, and also, you know, measure even sometimes number of data sets shared, and also the frequency of download of that article. I mean, that data set. and also the frequency of also practicing these preprints and the like, maybe can we consider as, you know, as an impact?
Oh yeah, no, the reason we usually say impact is not very tangible is that to measure, because impact is long term, okay? To measure these things, you need to collect a lot of data. And then you need to justify that those data are actually what they are. So you can, of course, say that, you know, we started doing this. A quick one would be, let's say your department, because universities are huge and you're doing this in just one department or two or three. Let's say that in the next year, you get everyone, you start doing open science, for example. You get everyone in your department to now post their research article as a preprint. That is an impact, because impact is also usually linked to behavior change. Okay? It's linked to how people experience something. So you can say that they've done that. But if you look at your whole goal as open science, posting preprints alone is not the whole achievable means for open science. Does that make sense? So posting preprints alone is not, it's just one aspect of it. So when you start going through all of the things that make up open science, have you been able to achieve that in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? My answer would be, I would quite be sure to tell you, no, you cannot. Unless you made a law and impose it on everyone to do it, in which case it's not community engagement. But even that would not work easily. So the long-term impact can be on how people practice things, not really just the output. So what you're talking about before is the output of things that we can do. Sorry, the outcome and the output of things. But when it comes to impact, it requires a longer term measurement, but also behavior change, how things are done. So, but on the overall, you know, Howard talked about GitHub. This RN is about reproducibility. There is depositing things to the repository. There's so many aspects of open science that are involved, so that if you look at it, achieving those will take you some years. In fact, open science has been going on for years now and it's still not achieved, but the impact is beginning to be felt, still very tiny, which is why we're still talking about it. Does that answer your question? Oluwole, please.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't know, the network was a bit unstable when you were answering the previous question. But I know that from this definition, for you to assess impact is always a long-term something that takes you a long time. And sometimes this may not be within the frame of the time duration of the project. So how do you do this? How do you handle this?
You've just, that's what I said before. It's a long-term thing. You can measure what you can. You can do narratives to narrate how things has changed, but it is inconclusive, or it's not, you cannot summarize it and say, over this time, this is what has happened. So you've answered the question by asking the question anyway. It's impact is long-term. And when we say long-term, we're not talking of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It's really a space of time. So if you were doing a project, what project can we use? Let's say mental health prevention. If you're doing a project on mental health prevention, what is mental health prevention? It's really about how people take care of themselves and their well-being. But you know that this is not linear. You can get everyone to maybe go to take a walk every day, but not everyone can take a walk every day. But if they do, not everyone will do the same amount of walk every day. So if you're looking at your target audience of, let's say, 100 people within a local area, you realize that every day, not everyone turns up for that walk. And even if you make it individuals do their own, if you were to collect the data from them, you will find out that although everyone has come out to do a walk at some point, not the whole 100 does it consistently and at the same measure. And that will be because of other things that are happening in their lives. It might be deliberate, but most likely not. So there are others, but what you're aiming at is not getting them to come out for a walk, it's getting them to improve their mental health. So because your goal is beyond, remember your goal is not about the process, it's the long-lasting impact that you have on this behavior. So if you can't get them all to work towards a good mental health, you then need to be measuring and say, has their mental health improved, or is it stable? If it's stable, over how many periods, over how long has it been that? So you're trying to measure all of this, but why I say to you that it's not tangible is that some of these are not things you can determine by just taking numbers. So if you take a number of work someone has done over the last year, you're doing the mental health prevention, has it stopped them having a mental health issue? Then you start looking at what exactly is mental health. So over the period, the thing with community engagement is that it deals with behavior changes, even though we don't talk about that term often. You guys are talking about open science. It's the same thing. And that's what I explained when you had a network problem. Open science is huge. So the long-term impact of it, the long-term effect will not be determined within even 5 years. But actually for open science, it's gone longer than 5 years. We're talking of years now, like decades these days. So you realize that it's not changing, but it's gradually changing. Does that make sense? So I will share some of this. And now I'm being mindful of time. I know we should usually have breaks, but because of the internet problem that some of you experience, I don't want us to all log off and then not be able to log back in. So we talk of evaluating our activities. Again, we go back to the intangible nature of faith, but identifying indicators help us to see where change is taking place. Remember indicators that we just talked about. You deploy tools already discussed and use those to identify your benefit, the potential benefits, and others. So you can measure in various ways. But most of the time, like I said earlier, is qualitative. So you can see where change is happening. But you would have to be careful, because the thing with community engagement that sometimes it's difficult to fund it or to support it is people are asking you to give them concrete and quantitative data, saying how many people are doing this now, or why do you want this done, and all of that. Community engagement is more easier if you're looking at it from a different viewing glass altogether. So these are some of the tools you can use. You can consider, the participation rate. I have to say participation is also about the diversity of people involved. If you're doing your data collection, always think about that, because it helps to show how your reach is happening. You can also do it within a homogeneous group. That's still fine, but even amongst a homogeneous group, there are some varieties of differences that can exist. So always pinpoint that, because it helps you to do a better engagement. If you understand the nuances that are within even what is considered a homogeneous group, you are better placed to serve them and able to provide and attend to needs rather than not. Yes, Clara.
Sir, can you explain more how one can differentiate between output and the outcome? I'm having a challenge differentiating the two. Sorry to take you back.
Let's see. So can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
All right. So you were asking about number 3 and number 4, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So I'll just read out what is on the screen. So this output is the result of your input and process. And then I have examples there. It says number of meetings, for example. Okay. Outcome, however, is when you're looking at how many people are attending those meetings and workshops and what is happening to them, the improvement they are getting. So if you say I'm having a meeting and 10 people attend and they attend every day, what is it doing for them? Are they the same people? You know, one of the good ways to measure your outcome is to have what we call baseline surveys. You can say to people, you're starting this process now. What do you think about it? And on a scale of 1 to 10, measure, tell us, how much do you know about community engagement today? On a scale of 1 to 10, when we finish, how much do you know now? It can show you that the outcome is that they have improved their community engagement skills. So that is the outcome. Does that make sense? So the outcome is that they have improved their community engagement skills. The output for you is that you've brought 10 people together in a meeting. The process is the meeting. The input is the time you've put into the meeting. Does that make sense now?
It does. It does. Thanks.
So it's not you. It's just confusing sometimes to narrate that. But this is just the steps. And of course, the impact will be the overall change that has happened. Where was I? Think we were there. Yeah. So I've put here, this is just my personal, don't quote me on this, but you know, I usually say to people, likes they're not really concrete engagement, but they can be useful. You know, the more people like it, the more it seems that there's an engagement on it. On the famous social media platform, Twitter, sometimes they don't elevate likes above comments, because comments is that people has actually read what you said and then engaged with it and respond or say something or share it. Whereas for likes, sometimes people just look at what you say. It can be, you look at this page and this photo is nice, you just click like and you move on. Now, to me, that's not engagement. That's why I put it here that way. But sometimes when you're counting your engagement, it's good too. You can count your likes as part of that. So why did I put repeat here? Can someone tell me why they think I put repeat here? We have 25 minutes. Can someone tell me why I put repeat there? Okay. What if you look at this? Can you tell me why I put repeat there? Yes, Aman?
Sorry, I'm raising one important question. Can I?
Sorry, you're raising for what?
Just I have a question.
Okay.
For clarity.
Okay. What is the question?
Yeah, during evaluation. Evaluation of you know, the project. Is it internal, or can we do evaluation by the team or our staff as well? Because
okay.
some of some project also, you know, highlight that evaluation need to have to be done by you know, the external assessor or evaluator.
Okay, let's leave that, hold on to that. Now back to my question, everyone. I put repeat on the screen and I ask you to look at this and tell me why you think I put repeat there. I just need 2 people to answer me and then we can move forward. Nareya Christine said is a cycle. Okay. Yes, Hafsat?
I think you want to assess whether, to assess the impact of the engagement we have just had with you.
Okay.
So you want some feedback from us to check our understanding of this engagement.
Okay. Any other person? Yes, Clara.
I think it means that assessment is a continuous thing for you to know how far you are going or how good you're going. You need to keep assessing. As you're going, you keep assessing.
Okay, thank you. Paul Hassan, you have said it's continuum. That doesn't answer my question. Tell me more, very briefly. What do you mean by, yeah? What do you mean by continuum?
We talked about the processes. There is no stopping. You just keep on. It keeps on revolving like that until the goals are achieved.
Good. You've all answered my question. So yes, the reason I put repeat there after all of this slides, sorry, the essence of putting repeat is to say, actually, you get to the other end, you start again. But I brought you back to this. I hope you are understanding this process. Community engagement is a continuum, which means it's a continuous evolving, revolving, evolving procedure. And I gave you an example. You can finish it and then you move to university and other people carry on. So that is why I put repeat. Before we go, I wanted to actually take time to look at, so these are the community engagement methods that we have. So I showed you this last week, and this is the number one is the one I'm just going to pick out, but needs-based. So needs-based is where you focus on the needs of the community. It's slightly opposite of number one, which focuses on assets. Both of them use mapping, or all of them does. Remember, in mapping, we said you're looking at what you have, so the assets that you have. In needs-based, you're really looking at what is the problem here, let's solve it. My preference is number one, and I'll tell you why later. Participatory action research, community organizing, social capital, community-led development, place-based, empowerment, advocacy, public consultation, and collaborative governance. There are a few others, but most of these, they share similar characteristics, but some of them stand out. Public consultation, for example, is not quite what I love doing. It's almost similar to project management, but it's called public consultation. And place-based, of course, the name just says it. It's really about physical places most of the time. I mean, now things are verging into digital, but they still want them to be locally linked, physically locally linked, and all of that. But because of time, this is community engagement, this asset-based community development. It puts weight on the talents, physical and cultural assets, and it respects the histories and spaces and stories of the community. It builds relationships. It mobilizes for action and this community agency as well. It puts space on sustainability. So it puts weight on sustainability. So community engagement is really, asset-based management, asset-based community development. It's my best, actually. It's my preferred community engagement tool that I use even in my job now. It's really about accepting that you are not there to lecture people, that the problem you want to address is the problem that is a shared problem. For example, you've all talked about preprints, open science, this and that. You want to do that because it's a problem you think everyone in the community has. Regardless of you identifying that this is a problem, the issue is that it's a problem that you all share, okay? So because of that, you start from saying, back to mapping, what do we have to solve this problem? And by saying that, you're also saying that every voice that is involved matters. I like what Musa shared about his I don't know if Musa is still here, but what he shared earlier about his Telegram group. That's a very common example. He's thought that, we have this issue here. Let me set up a Telegram. Anyone can join. But instead of saying, You all join, I tell you what to do, and off you go. It's saying, actually, what do you know? Give feedback. So people are coming together and saying, actually, I know that. The good thing with this ABCD is that it reveals things that you didn't know that you have. It gives value to every opinion. And it is something that inclusion and involvement is at the heart of it. Unlike needs based, which is, well, we have all this problem. Okay, this is the need. Now I know what to do about it. Sometimes it doesn't really focus on this in-house talents and skills. It just focuses on trying to solve the problem. This focuses on working with the community to devise a better way to address issues and address it together in a way that everyone is carried along. By everyone, if you're 1,000 people, I don't mean that you have to sound at every 1,000 people, but you have to carry on making sure that every voice is valued, every asset is valued. Sometimes for you guys in academia, it can be like, oh, this person is a postdoctoral, this person is a professor. That is not the point. A professor as well as a PhD candidate both has something to contribute. And I hope this takes you back to think about connector leaders. They don't have to be someone of high title or low title. This is where asset base is very different. It creates a level playing field for everyone. As I put there, is community led, and it focuses on harnessing strengths. So those are the assets within the community, and it uses that to push for a sustainable and stronger, resilient, self-reliant communities. Does that make sense as well? We have actually done the last slide, so you can all breathe, have a sigh of relief now, and ask any questions you have. Is there any questions? Okay. Well, if you don't have a question, let me then ask you to tell me, oh, come on. Okay. Go. I'm going to take you to this slide. Can you look at this slide on your screen? Can you join that and answer that question for me, please? Have you been able to join it? Well, take the thing on the screen. You can scan it if you have a mobile phone, or you can type in slido.com and then there's the number there, and use that number. Otherwise, you can click on this link. Click on this link. You can click on this link in the chat to join it. I want you to tell me, what 3 communities do you belong to? It should take 1 minute. Type in 3. Did you succeed? Are you doing it? I can see only one person taking part.
Please, sir, is demanding for a code. Is there a code we can put in?
Code is on the screen, 4050140.
Okay.
But if you type the link I sent on the chat, that link would help you to, let me type it again. That link will help you to,
Okay.
will take you straight to the question.
All right.
This is why I said I didn't want to do breakout room, because I don't know if it's bad internet, but
I already sent through the link, the photo.
yeah. I typed that wrong. There's a space there, but it shouldn't be. So that link in the chat is what you can use. I've only seen, only 4 people has done it. I wanted us to finish on time. It's taken us 4 minutes to do just this one thing. Only 4 people has done it. There's 18 people here. Is anyone else, are you guys having problem doing it? Okay, 6 people has done it now. Seven people. The link is working because other people are doing it. If you click on the link I just sent, it will take you straight to the thing. I've sent the link again. If you click on that link I just sent.
Sir, please, have you seen mine?
No, I'm not. It's anonymous, so I can't see who has sent it.
Okay.
I know 9 people have sent it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to close that poll now. And so there's another one. If you go to the same link, I want you to rate what you feel about this. 5, you can. It's just stars. If you're still on that link, it should show you a different question now.
I've not been able to access that link. It's telling me error.
Okay. Clara, can you see this on the chat? Look. Let me see. Can you see what I just put it on the link on the chat? If you take that link, put in your browser and click on it, it works.
Okay.
I'm testing it here, it's working.
Okay. eLifesciences.org.
So 9 people answered the first question. 8 people are answering the next one. If I go to can show you so these are the communities that you guys, well, the few people that answered it, these are the communities that you presented. So academia and academic RN are the highest number. Author aid, research. So why I asked you to do this is you see that communities overlapping. You can be in so many different communities at the same time, and some of you would overlap, some of you probably, the green ones are the one that shows that most people who answered the question, 9 of you are part of academia, but there's religion, there's information governance or government, I don't know, research ethics, Uniport, yeah, Ethiopian. So these are how overlapping researchers, librarians, entrepreneur, and all of that. So this is telling you that people can belong to different communities at different times. So that's it. So thank you. And this is, okay. So some of you has improved their skills. Thank you. If you have any question, I will send you all the materials that we've used. later through Emmanuel and Lamis. If you have any question, you can send it to them and they would pass it on to me. But in the meanwhile, if you also want to send me an email, I think my email is this. And that's correct. And you can find me a link on this, but these things will be on the slide I sent you. And this is the end of this training. You are free to log off now. I will hang back because I think I'm the host for you to log off over the next 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Have a good evening, good day, wherever you are.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you and bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.